Pre-Algebra kids, today is 14.6 linear equations y equals mx plus b. So let's start with our launch. It says complete the table and describe any patterns you see. Find the slope and the y-intercept for each line. So if we look at y equals 2x plus 1, the slope is 2, the y-intercept is 1. Remember, our slope is whatever is next to the x. Y equals 2x plus 3, our slope is 2, our y-intercept is 3. Y equals negative 1/3 x plus 6, our slope is negative 1/3, our y-intercept is 6. And the last one here, this is interesting, y equals x, our slope is 1, and there is not a plus or a minus, so actually this guy would go through the origin. So your y-intercept is 0. That one's kind of tricky. And then y equals 1. Let's take a look at what that line would look like if we were to graph it. Okay, agree with me that this is your x-axis and this is your y-axis. So if y equals 1, that means that it would be a 0 slope. Slope would be 0 here, and it would actually make a horizontal line, and your y-intercept would be 1. So that one's a little tricky too. Let's head into the examples. Okay, it starts with a key concept. It says the equation of a non-vertical line can be written in the form of y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. This is also known as slope-intercept form. You can use slope-intercept form to write and graph the equation of a non-vertical line. So the m, again, is your slope, and the b is your y-intercept. It says write an equation in slope-intercept form for each line. Let's look at A. All right, so we know right here by looking at A that our y-intercept is 1. Now let's look for our slope. We need to look at this point here and this point here because it goes through corners of grid squares. So this guy, obviously our slope is positive. That's another thing we need to look at. This guy rises 3 and runs 1. So slope is rise over run. So A in slope-intercept form would be y equals, because it's always y equals. Now our slope rises 3 and runs 1. So that's 3x. And our y-intercept is a plus 1. Let's go to B. A negative slope this time. Our y-intercept is 4, positive. And our slope, I'm going to use this point and this point. It drops 2 and it runs 1. So that is a slope of negative 2. So negative 2x plus 4. And then the last one, y equals. Ooh, how bad was that of me? Y equals negative 2x plus 4. I forget on C. Y equals, y-intercept is a negative 3. And our slope rises 1 and runs 2, and it's positive this time. So it'd be 1/2 x minus 3. So y equals 1/2 x minus 3. You got it for part 1. It says write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line. So if you look at this, your y-intercept is negative 2. The slope drops 1 and runs 3, and obviously it is downhill, so it's negative. So it would be y equals negative 1/3 x minus 2. All right, example 2. The line models the relationship between a temperature in degrees Celsius and degrees Fahrenheit. What is the y-intercept of the line? What is the slope of the line? Write an equation for the line where x is the temperature in degrees Celsius and y is the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so let's find our slope. And actually on this one, let's use that formula that we learned about. So y sub 2 minus y sub 1 all over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Okay, so our second, let's call this one number 1 and this one number 2. So 104 minus 32 all over 40 minus 0. So 104 minus 32 on top. 104 minus 32 on top is 72. And then on the bottom, there's going to end up being a 40. divided by 40, 1.8. So y equals 1.8x, and our y-intercept here is 32 plus 32. That is your answer. Hey guys, I just looked at the solution for that previous problem, and I noticed that when I made mine a decimal, 1.8, they actually took the 72 over 40 and put it in lowest terms, and they left it as 9 over 5. That's probably the better way to write this. Y equals 9.5x plus 32. All right, so part two, it says the line of the graph of the equation is y equals 9/5 x plus 32. So that was our answer for the previous problem. It says is where x is the temperature in degrees Celsius and y is the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. Find the Fahrenheit equivalent for 18 degrees Celsius. So right here where there's this x, we're going to plug in an 18. Y equals 9/5 times 18 over 1 plus 32. So we are multiplying here. I cannot cross cancel. So I need to take 9 times 18, and then I'm really going to end up dividing it by 5. So 9 times 18 equals 162. Divided by 5 is 32.4. And then the formula wants me to add 32 to it. So plus 32. My answer would be 64.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Y equals 64.4 degrees Fahrenheit. That's just simply substituting in and solving. And a lot of time in math, we call that evaluating an expression. All right, let's head to the next part. All right, guys, audit part 2. It says the Kelvin scale for measuring temperature is often used in scientific calculators. The line models the relationship between a temperature in degrees Celsius and a temperature in kelvins. Write an equation for the line where x is the temperature in degrees Celsius and y is the degree in kelvins. So let's find our slope. And again, I really think using our formula on this one will be our best bet. So let's y sub 2 minus y sub 1, x sub 2 minus x sub 1. This ordered pair, let's call that number 2. Let's call this number 1. So here we go. 323 minus 273 all over 50 minus 0. So when I subtract the top, I get 50. Bottom is 50. 50 over 50 is 1. So I'm ready to now write my equation. Y equals, now a 1 next to an x, we don't need it. So x, now this guy's positive and it's at 273, plus 273. So y equals x plus 273 is our answer. Let's head to part 3. All right, for the next, it gives us a little introduction, and we did a little bit of this yesterday. It says you can use an equation in slope-intercept form to graph a linear equation. It says the y-intercept gives you a starting point, so always start with your y-intercept first, and then apply your slope from that point. And that should help you out. So let's see an example problem here. All right, graph the equation. All right, guys, I'm going to use my graphing tools to graph this line. I honestly think yours is a little bit different and a little bit easier to use than mine. I'm going to use this line tool, and I'm going to put my first point at -5. Then I'm going to apply a slope of 1/4. So I'm going to go up 1 over 4. So up 1 over 4 is right here. And that would be the line or a picture of my line for this equation. All right, for this last audit, it says, what is the graph of the equation y equals -2x plus 3? It's kind of strange because they didn't give me anything to graph it with or graph paper. So I'm going to come over here and just make a quick little sketch of what you would do on graph paper. And honestly, I think it's easier to graph these by hand than to use the technology sometimes. So if I was graphing this, I would go up to 3 on the y-axis. 1, 2, 3. Let's imagine it's there, and I'd put a dot. And then I would drop 2. 1, 2, and I'd go over 1 because this is a negative slope. So I want my line to be going this way instead of this way, instead of uphill. So then I'm going to go again, 1, 2 over 1. And that would be kind of what this would look like. I draw my line, I put my arrows. All right, guys, so that is the lesson for 14.6. I need you to get in and do your 10 digits problem tonight for this, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.